Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
And a day after that speech, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. We are honored today on this Martin Luther King Day, Joe Concha filling in for Steve Malzberg on the Steve Malzberg Show, to have with us Dr. Alveda King. Doctor, thank you for joining us from Iowa. We appreciate it.
Well, you know, Steve, I'm on the ground, boots on the ground in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Martin Luther King commemorative service. And the speaker of the day, Dr. Gwendolyn Elizabeth Boyd, president of the Alabama State University, just said, hashtag all lives matter, hashtag our children matter. She preached out of the Bible, and then she began to shout, bring it, bring it. So I'm bringing it. I'm so excited.
Well, your uncle certainly bought it. As somebody who's in television and does public speaking, I was always amazed how well he spoke, how powerful he was. Clearly, I would argue, the greatest speaker of the 20th century. Did he ever, would you know even the answer to this? Did he ever take a lesson, or did he take public speaking, or is that just something that came naturally to him?
Well, he took a class as a preacher, or several, called homiletics. And when these preachers go to school, they have to practice preaching. So I will answer that. He took homiletics classes, but much of that was so far beyond that, just absolute giftings. And so that's what you're hearing. It's not something he learned in school, although he did take those classes. But what you're hearing is just inspired.
Yes, inspiration, and certainly you can't teach talent. By the way, I apologize. I got ahead of myself. Didn't realize you were still in Georgia. You will be in Iowa tonight, I believe, in Des Moines at the North High School Auditorium, I believe, speaking at 6 p.m. A free speech, for that matter, for everybody watching us in Iowa. That is correct, right?
Absolutely. I restored the dream 2015, and I'll be in Iowa tonight and tomorrow. And then I'll be over in Washington, D.C. for the March for Life. And then I'll go to California for the Walk for Life. So do you have any vitamins you could recommend?
Yeah, I go Centrum Silver. That works well for me. And then I combine it with Red Bull. And when you do these things, you'll be awake for at least 8 days straight. So
Oh, Lord, okay.
I can recommend that. Hey, I read once that you compared your uncle to Moses, calling him a humble man. Can you expand on that?
Well, my uncle is often called the Black Moses of the 20th century. And Moses, of course, in his younger days, he had a temper, and he thought he could do everything out of his own strength. He even murdered someone when he saw the Hebrew children or people being oppressed. But he had to stay in the wilderness for 40 years, and he came out very humble, believing God, obeying God. Martin Luther King Jr. did not live the natural earth years that Moses lived. But during his lifetime, he was tried in the fire. Moses saw a burning bush. Martin Luther King Jr. walked through the fire, literally house-bombed and all those kinds of things. We know that he was finally shot. My daddy, his brother, of course, marched along with him, and many others. So Martin Luther King Jr. preached that mountaintop speech. I've been to the mountaintop. But he said, I may not get there with you, but I believe that we as a people will see the promised land. And so Moses, of course, had a mountaintop experience, and so did my uncle. And I believe what my uncle said. I believe that we as a people, not just black people, but he said that black people and white people, Protestants, Catholics, Gentiles, and Jews would join together and sing free at last. So when this lady said, hashtag all lives matter, hashtag our children matter, and she went on and on talking about our school system, our black colleges, I was so excited. And so we are honoring Dr. King today with a day on. We were on in worship service in church, and now I'm going to get on a plane and continue.
Well, we certainly appreciate your efforts, and I again encourage everybody that's watching in Des Moines to go to the North High School Auditorium tonight. A free speech by Dr. Alveda King. That will begin at 6 o'clock there. So certainly, Dr. King, we appreciate you joining us today. We know it's a very busy day, a very special day, 47 years now since the death of Martin Luther King Jr. And isn't it great that this is a federal holiday and people are observing it as they should? So again,
a great holiday. Don't forget my book, KingRulesBook.com. I almost forgot. So thank you so much, Steve.
KingRulesBook.com. Absolutely. I am the new Steve, Joe Concha filling in. I appreciate that, Dr. King, and we'll be back with more in just a moment. But first, last week, Steve got a chance to speak to retired goaltender, NHL goaltender, Clint Marichuk, about his time in the NHL, as well as his new book, A Matter of Inches, How I Survived in the Crease and Beyond. That interview is up next on the Steve Malzberg Show. Joe Concha filling in on this Martin Luther King holiday.